My husband of 10 years, Jerry, began acting distant. Late nights, secret phone calls, the classic signs. Then, I caught him. Not with a stranger, but with my stepsister, Karen, a woman whose jealousy and manipulative streak had tormented me for years. The betrayal was a knife to the gut. Months later, after our divorce, Karen had the audacity to invite me to her wedding with Jerry, clearly intending to rub her victory in my face. She even wanted me to give a speech. Little did she know, I had a +1 in mind who would turn her perfect day into a spectacular fiasco. Her beloved college ex-boyfriend, Ron, the one she still had a tattoo of. This isn't just a story about a cheating husband and a conniving stepsister. It's a raw exploration of familial betrayal, the insidious nature of narcissistic personality traits, and the empowering journey of reclaiming your life after devastating gaslighting and emotional abuse. Follow my path from heartbroken wife to a woman who decided to give them a taste of their own medicine. From the sunny suburbs of San Diego, California, to a wedding reception that descended into chaos, this story is for anyone who has ever been betrayed by those closest to them and dreamed of a little petty and public revenge. The Pacific breeze that usually swept through our Alajuela home, carrying the scent of salt and jasmine, had started to feel different, colder. For nearly 12 years, 10 of them as his wife, Jerry had been my world. I'm Olivia, 48 now, and Jerry, my soon-to-be ex-husband, is 52. Our early years were pure sunshine, laughter-filled days, cozy Sunday mornings wrapped in each other's arms, random date nights that felt like something out of a movie. We were a team, tackling life's curveballs with a united front, our smiles infectious, our love a tangible thing. Anniversaries were cherished, simple moments savored. Life felt right. Then, insidiously, things began to change. The easy laughter became strained, replaced by a tense silence that hung heavy in the air. Date nights, once spontaneous and joyful, felt forced, almost performative. Jerry started spending more and more time glued to his phone, his face illuminated by the screen, a cryptic smile playing on his lips when he thought I wasn't looking. The intimacy we'd shared, that effortless connection that had been the bedrock of our marriage, was slowly, painfully, slipping away. A chasm of distance was growing between us, one I felt powerless to bridge. A sickening suspicion began to take root. Jerry was having an affair. The late-night hushed phone calls, the mysterious messages he'd quickly shield from my view, his increasing emotional remoteness. The signs were all there, textbook and heartbreaking. When I'd question the changes in his behavior, his growing detachment even when we were inches apart, he'd dismiss my concerns with a wave of his hand. "You're reading too much into things, Liv," he'd say, his voice laced with an uncharacteristic irritation. "I'm just stressed with work." The gaslighting was subtle at first, designed to make me doubt my own intuition. But my gut, that primal instinct, screamed this was more than just work stress. Our marriage was veering onto a dark, unfamiliar road. One Friday evening I decided to surprise him. I'd planned a spontaneous dinner date, hoping to rekindle some of that lost spark, to reconnect. I headed to his downtown San Diego office, picturing a night filled with the easy conversation and laughter we used to share. Just as I was pulling up, my phone pinged. A message from Jerry. "Hey, so sorry, swamped at work. Looks like a late one. Don't wait up." My heart sank. Another canceled evening. I sighed, accepting the change in plans, but something made me hesitate before driving away. And then, to my utter disbelief, I saw him, Jerry, exiting his office building, looking relaxed, almost cheerful. He got into his car and drove off, not in the direction of home, but towards the Gaslamp Quarter. Confused, a knot of dread tightening in my stomach, I made a split-second decision. I followed him. Curiosity, a desperate need to understand the lie, propelled me forward. Little did I know, I was following him straight into the heart of my worst nightmare. He pulled into a valet spot outside a trendy cocktail lounge, the Noble Experiment. I parked a little way down the street, my hands trembling, and watched, and then I saw her. A woman, her back to me, waiting by the entrance. Jerry walked up to her, a wide smile spreading across his face, and she turned. My world imploded. My breath hitched. It was Karen. My stepsister. My legs felt like they might give out. I almost collapsed right there on the sidewalk. Spying on them through the lounge's large window, my heart hammering against my ribs, I watched in horrified disbelief as Jerry and Karen held hands across a small table, smiling warmly at each other, their heads bent close in intimate conversation. The realization hit me with the force of a physical blow, a gut punch that left me gasping for air. The sheer, unadulterated disgust, mingled with a betrayal so profound it felt like my soul was being ripped apart, left me grappling with a maelstrom of emotions. I stumbled away from the window, making sure Jerry didn't see me, the city lights blurring through my tears. That night was, without a doubt, the most excruciating of my life. I don't think I've ever cried so hard, not even when my beloved golden retriever Max passed away last year. The pain was a physical entity, crushing me. Just for some context on Karen, my parents divorced when I was very young. Mom eventually remarried a wonderful man named Harry, and Karen was his daughter from a previous marriage. We're 4 years apart, me being the elder. At first, Karen and I got along reasonably well, but as we grew older, I began to see a different side of her, a knack for manipulation, a talent for deceit. She could effortlessly twist any situation to her advantage, whether it was lying to our parents to avoid punishment or charming complete strangers for her own gain. Her manipulative skills were truly something to behold. And for some inexplicable reason, Karen was always jealous of me. It made no sense. We both came from loving, albeit blended, homes. But no matter how hard I tried, I could never seem to earn her genuine affection. As we navigated adolescence and college, I secured a full-ride scholarship, a fact Karen seemed to resent. I saw less and less of her. I relished my college days, making new friends, exploring different classes, savoring the freedom of young adulthood. I started coming home to our parents' place in Coronado less frequently, and eventually, my interactions with Karen dwindled to a minimum, usually reserved for obligatory family events. But even then, she couldn't resist being nasty. She'd make subtle, yet deeply hurtful, comments about my appearance, my clothes, my weight, always when we were alone, designed to chip away at my confidence. The passive-aggressive bullying was relentless. Karen didn't just stop there. She'd often act overly, almost inappropriately, friendly with any man I was dating, Jerry included when he was still just my boyfriend. She'd make suggestive remarks to him, comment on his hot gym pictures. He didn't even have gym pictures. Her compliments always making him visibly uncomfortable. I'd always chalked it up to Karen being Karen, her inherently flirtatious and often inappropriate nature. Since my marriage to Jerry, she had, to her credit, toned down the overt flirtatiousness, and I'd naively thought she'd matured. I never imagined this. But seeing them together in that bar, so cozy, so comfortable, so clearly entangled, I knew this affair hadn't just started. This had been going on for a while. The betrayal by proxy, by someone who was supposed to be family, was a particularly cruel twist of the knife. When Jerry finally came home that night, reeking of expensive whiskey and perfume that wasn't mine, I pretended to be asleep. His brazen attitude, his lack of even an attempt to hide the evidence of his infidelity, hinted at a growing arrogance, a belief that he could get away with anything. I lay awake the entire night, my mind racing, a cold, hard resolve forming in the pit of my stomach. Before he woke up the next morning, I slipped his phone out of our bedroom. For hours I meticulously went through his messages, his call logs, his emails, his photo gallery. And I documented everything. Every suggestive text, every intimate photo, every incriminating email. My own personal collection of damning evidence. Later that morning, after Jerry had left for work, I drove to my mom's house in Point Loma. My stepdad, Harry, was at his golf club, so I knew I could talk to Mom in privacy. When I laid out the evidence, when I told her about Jerry's affair with Karen, her own stepdaughter, she was just as shocked, just as horrified, as I was. She almost didn't believe it, until I showed her the photos, the texts. Then her shock morphed into a cold, hard fury. That Jerry and Karen could do something so despicable, so cruel. It was beyond comprehension. My mom, being the pragmatic, fiercely protective rock she is, immediately started making plans. We would confront them, she declared, but not privately. We would do it in front of everyone. She understood with a mother's intuition that this level of betrayal demanded a public reckoning. She had always treated Karen like her own daughter, and this duplicity, this stabbing me in the back, felt like a betrayal to her as well. We hatched a plan. We'd call a close family dinner for the upcoming weekend at my place. Ostensibly, just a casual get-together. Mom insisted I keep my mouth shut, not let Jerry know I suspected anything. On the day of the party, everyone arrived, looking fresh, happy, oblivious to the storm about to break. We had dinner, a tense affair for me, trying to act normal while my insides churned. Then, as people were sipping wine and after-dinner cordial, I clinked my glass to get everyone's attention. My mom gave me a subtle nod. It was time. "Thank you all for joining us tonight," I began, my voice surprisingly steady despite the tempest of emotions raging within me. "I've called you all here for a special reason, something I've been grappling with for a while." I paused, letting the curiosity in the room build. "I want you to pay attention to the projector, as I have a little surprise for you." My mom had already set up the projector. I connected my phone, took a deep breath, and began to scroll through the images and messages I'd collected from Jerry's phone. The room fell into a hushed silence as the first image appeared on the screen, a picture of Jerry and Karen, locked in an intimate, unmistakably romantic pose. Gasps and murmurs rippled through the room. "This is not easy for me," I continued, my voice unwavering, "but I felt you all needed to know the truth. These pictures, these messages, are evidence of an affair. An affair between my husband Jerry and my stepsister Karen." The room erupted. Disbelief, anger, shock, a cacophony of emotions. Eyes widened, jaws dropped as the evidence unfolded on the screen, each new image, each damning message, exposing the depth of their betrayal. My mom's face was a mixture of fury and profound sorrow. She stood beside me, her hand gripping mine, a silent, powerful show of support. I turned to face Jerry and Karen, who were sitting in stunned, guilty silence. Jerry's face was flushed, a deep, mottled red. Karen, usually so manipulative, so cunning, looked small, exposed, her carefully constructed facade crumbling. The room seemed to vibrate with the collective anger of our friends and family. My mom stepped forward, her voice sharp, laced with disappointment. "How could you do this?" she demanded, her eyes boring into Jerry, then Karen. "To our family? To your spouse? To your sister?" My stepdad, Harry, looked straight at Karen, his voice hoarse with emotion. "Karen, is this true? What we're seeing, is it true?" Karen burst into tears, a pathetic, whimpering sound. Other family members began to voice their own disbelief, their outrage. Whispers turned into angry comments. Jerry and Karen, cornered, exposed, sat there, unable to utter a single word in their defense. The weight of the truth, the undeniable evidence of their deception, was crushing them. My heart, though heavy, felt a strange sense of relief. The secret was out. The gaslighting was over. The deception was laid bare for all to see. I spoke up again, my voice clear and strong, addressing the room. "I didn't bring you all here just to expose them," I said, "but also to let you know that I will be divorcing Jerry, and if Karen wants my husband, then she can have him." I looked around at the faces of my friends, my family, their expressions a mixture of shock and solidarity. "I appreciate all of your understanding and support through this incredibly difficult time." As if on cue, the shock in the room began to morph into a unified wave of support for me. Friends and family offered words of comfort, of condemnation for Jerry and Karen's actions. Jerry's face had turned an even deeper shade of red. He stood up abruptly and walked out, a portrait of humiliation. Karen, finding an excuse to flee the judgment in the room, scrambled up and ran after him. As soon as they were gone, my mom hugged me fiercely, and I finally let the tears come. All the pain, all the betrayal I'd kept hidden inside for weeks came flooding out. The months that followed were an emotional drain. I was unable to summon the strength to even get out of bed some days. The weight of the betrayal, coupled with the exhaustion of countless sleepless nights and tear-filled days, had left me feeling like a mere shell of my former self. Sleep became my only refuge, my escape from the painful reality. I kicked Jerry out of our house immediately, and we began the long, arduous process of divorce. I wanted it over, as quickly as possible. 2 days ago, after months of legal wrangling, the court finally granted our divorce. We were officially separated. I was beyond happy. I spent the day with my mom, shopping, eating ice cream, indulging in all the simple joys I denied myself for so long. For the first time in what felt like an eternity, I felt liberated, free. That evening, while Mom and I were enjoying a movie at her place, Harry came into the room, looking visibly upset. Mom asked him what was wrong. He looked at me, his expression a mixture of concern and disbelief. "Liv," he said. "Have you seen what Karen posted on Facebook recently?" I shook my head, a knot of apprehension tightening in my stomach. I opened my phone, my fingers trembling as I searched for Karen's profile. With bated breath, I clicked on it, and there it was. Her latest picture, her and Jerry, smiling, looking at each other lovingly, a picture of blissful coupledom. And the caption, "So happy to be engaged to the love of my life. #blessed #true love." My breath caught in my throat. Engaged? She was wearing a ring, a gaudy diamond that sparkled mockingly from the screen. I was beyond shocked. My mom, looking over my shoulder, snatched the phone from my hand and let out a cry of bewilderment. Karen and Jerry, engaged? Already? The rest of the night is a blur. Overwhelmed by shock and a fresh wave of disbelief, I sank back into the couch, my mind racing, the room seeming to close in on me. My mom, equally stunned, tried to comfort me, but words failed us both. As if this wasn't already a fresh hell, Harry then received a call. It was Karen, her voice bubbling with a sickeningly false cheerfulness, no doubt calling to share her happy news with her father. Harry, at my silent, pleading request, put her on speaker. I listened, heartbroken, feeling completely empty inside, as Karen gushed about her engagement, about how happy she was, how she was finally going to marry Jerry. Harry, his voice tight with a barely suppressed anger, finally interjected. "Karen," he said, his tone icy, "what you have done today is not just incredibly insensitive and hurtful to Olivia, your stepsister. It is going to affect this entire family." Karen, perhaps upset by his disapproving tone, retorted, "I don't understand, Dad. Jerry and I are in love. We're getting married. What's wrong with celebrating that?" "What's wrong, Karen, is the way you've gone about it. You had an affair. You think that's okay. Your actions have caused immense pain to someone you should consider family. Instead of being respectful and understanding, you are now flaunting your engagement in front of her, in front of all of us, without a single thought for the consequences." Hearing his words, the dam inside me finally broke. I started sobbing, deep, racking sobs, while my mom held me, murmuring words of comfort. Karen must have realized Harry wasn't alone. "Is Olivia there?" she asked, her voice suddenly wary. "Is she in the room?" When Harry confirmed I was, Karen started pleading, her voice taking on a syrupy, manipulative tone. "Oh, Liv, I have to talk to you. Please let me talk to Liv." Harry looked at me, a question in his eyes. I nodded, a strange, cold resolve settling over me. I took the phone. "Karen," I began, my voice surprisingly steady, "do you have any idea what you're even getting yourself into?" Karen actually smirked. I could hear it in her voice. "Oh, Olivia, darling," she said, her tone dripping with condescension, "I know exactly what I'm getting into. And you shouldn't even be crying about Jerry. You two are officially separated. He's free to marry me now." As if that wasn't enough, she then dropped another bombshell. "And Jerry and I want you to attend our wedding, Olivia, so you can bless us in our new journey together." I felt a maelstrom of shock, anger, and disbelief. They expected me to attend their wedding? To put on a facade of acceptance, to showcase unity and happiness, while my heart was still shattered. The sheer audacity, the narcissistic entitlement was breathtaking. The whole situation felt like a twisted, cruel joke. She even started talking about how much it would mean to them if I could deliver a speech that would indicate to everyone that I was okay with their union. Stunned, I found myself at a loss for words. My mother, sensing my distress, swiftly took the phone from my hands and addressed Karen directly, her voice firm, telling her that her actions were reprehensible, a new low, and that the family would not simply accept this relationship. Karen, defiant, argued that she and Jerry were in love, that only she could make him happy, and demanded that the family accept them. I retreated to the guest bedroom, locked myself in, and cried myself to sleep. The next morning, I woke up with a strange mixture of residual anger and a new, steely determination. The audacity of Karen's actions, her complete lack of remorse, her expectation that I would just roll over and accept this further humiliation. It fueled a fire within me. Instead of letting this revelation shatter me, I decided to turn the tables. I knew I had to face this head-on, to come out stronger. I was not going to let them suck away my happiness, my mental peace, any longer. A plan began to form in my mind, a deliciously petty, exquisitely appropriate plan. I was determined to make Karen regret ever inviting me to her sham of a wedding. I opened my laptop and began scrolling through Karen's social media profiles, scanning every picture she'd ever posted. As luck, or perhaps karma, would have it, I found what I was looking for. Ron, her college ex-boyfriend. The supposed great love of her life, the one whose name was, I recalled with a wicked grin, tattooed in a discreet, or so she thought, location. They'd had a painful, dramatic breakup years ago. And I knew for a fact that the sight of me arm in arm with Ron at her wedding would send Karen into a tailspin. My mom's eyes widened in realization when I explained my plan. A mischievous grin spread across her face, and she gave me a subtle nod of approval. My stepdad, Harry, however, thought this might be taking things too far, advising me not to ruin my sister's wedding. But my mind was made up. This wasn't just about ruining her wedding, it was about delivering a long overdue dose of reality, a taste of her own manipulative medicine. My first step was to track down Ron. It wasn't difficult. His distinctive last name and Karen's old tagged photos made him relatively easy to find on Facebook. I sent him a friend request, and to my surprise, he accepted within a few hours. I then sent him a carefully worded message, introducing myself as Karen's stepsister and Jerry's now ex-wife. I was upfront about my plan. Karen and Jerry were getting married. She had invited me with the clear intent to gloat, and I was looking for a plus one who could help me rebalance the karmic scales. Ron responded almost immediately, his curiosity piqued. He remembered me vaguely from years ago. I explained everything: Karen's affair with my husband, their subsequent engagement, her audacious wedding invitation to me. I told him I wanted to take him as my guest, to make Karen feel even a fraction of the humiliation and betrayal she had inflicted on me. After hearing the whole sordid tale, and perhaps still nursing some old wounds from his own painful breakup with Karen, a breakup I now suspected was orchestrated by Karen's own manipulations, Ron finally agreed. A thrill of anticipation, sharp and satisfying, coursed through me. The thought of the look on Jerry's and Karen's faces when they saw me arrive with Ron. It was a revenge fantasy too delicious to resist. My stepdad, Harry, still had no idea I was actually going through with bringing Ron. After his initial disapproval, I'd chosen to keep that particular detail to myself. The day of their wedding arrived, a picture-perfect San Diego afternoon, the kind that usually filled me with joy, but now felt charged with a different kind of energy. I put on a brave face, clad in a new, vibrant sapphire blue dress that radiated confidence, a color I knew Jerry secretly disliked on me. Ron, looking dapper and surprisingly calm, picked me up. As we walked into the lavish garden venue at the Hotel del Coronado, Jerry's eyes nearly popped out of his head. He was greeting guests near the entrance, his usual smug expression firmly in place. That expression dissolved the instant he saw Ron. He must have recognized him immediately as Karen's significant college ex. His jaw went slack, his face paling. We sailed past him, ignoring his sputtering, thunderstruck gape, and made a show of finding our designated seats. Jerry, his face now a mottled shade of angry red, hurried over, hissing under his breath, "Olivia? What the hell is he doing here? Why did you bring Karen's ex-boyfriend to our wedding?" I just smiled, a serene, almost beatific smile. "He's my plus one, Jerry. You did say I could bring one, didn't you?" I knew he was trapped, unable to cause a scene in front of all their carefully curated guests. He had to begrudgingly stalk back to his position at the altar, though he kept shooting furious, impotent glances in my direction. When it was time for the bride's entrance, a hush fell over the assembled guests. Everyone stood. Karen, adorned in a ridiculously ostentatious bridal gown that probably cost more than my annual salary, glided down the aisle on Harry's arm. A triumphant, almost predatory smile plastered on her face. She spotted me among the guests and her smile widened, a look of pure, unadulterated gloating. I returned it with a smirk of my own, refusing to let her see any vulnerability. Then, her eyes landed on Ron, standing beside me. She froze. Mid-stride, the music continued its saccharine melody, but Karen was rooted to the spot, her eyes darting frantically between me and Ron, her face a mask of dawning horror. Harry, confused, urged her to continue walking, but Karen refused to move, her composure visibly cracking. The narcissistic injury was immediate and profound. Her perfectly orchestrated moment of triumph was unraveling before her very eyes. I held my head high, maintaining a calm, almost regal demeanor as Harry, noticing Karen's fixed stare, looked up and saw Ron and me. Understanding and a flicker of something that might have been horrified amusement dawned on his face. The air in the elegant garden thickened with tension, the collective curiosity of the guests almost palpable. Suddenly, Karen, her face contorted with a volatile mix of anger and disbelief, broke away from Harry and stormed towards us. She stopped directly in front of me, her fists clenched. "Congratulations, Karen," I said, my voice steady, deliberately calm. "I'm genuinely happy for you both." "What the hell is this, Olivia?" she spat, her voice a venomous hiss that cut through the sudden shocked silence of the crowd. I met her gaze with an unflinching stare. "This, Karen," I replied, a touch of icy satisfaction in my voice, "is my +1. Meet Ron. You remember Ron, don't you? From your college days? Or perhaps," I added, relishing the flicker of panic in her eyes, "I should mention the rather permanent tribute to him you still have on your hip." Ron stepped forward, his expression unreadable, but his eyes holding a glint of something that looked suspiciously like amusement. "Hey, Karen," he said, his voice calm, almost casual. "It's good to see you after all these years. We just thought we'd come share in the joy of your special day." Karen's face flushed a furious, blotchy red. "Joy? You call this joy? You're ruining everything!" she shrieked, her voice cracking, cutting through the stunned silence of the wedding guests. The room fell into an even deeper hush, all eyes fixed on our dramatic tableau. Whispers and murmurs began to ripple through the crowd as people exchanged incredulous glances. This was better than any soap opera. Maintaining my composure, I responded to Karen, my voice carrying clearly in the sudden silence. "Well, Karen, it was you who so graciously invited me to your wedding with Jerry. I simply thought I'd return the favor and bring along your ex Ron, a little reunion for old time's sake." The room buzzed with renewed murmurs and gasps as the guests processed the unfolding drama. Karen's eyes narrowed at me, and she seemed momentarily taken aback, clearly not having anticipated such a bold, direct response. Ron, ever the master of calm demeanor, interjected smoothly, "Karen, we're honestly just here to celebrate your happiness. There's no need to turn this into a scene." Karen scoffed, her voice dripping with disdain. "Celebrate my happiness? How can you even be with someone like her?" she sneered, gesturing towards me. "Are you two dating now?" I smiled at her, a shrug of nonchalant indifference. "Like I said, Karen, you invited me. I'm just here to honor that invitation and wish you and Jerry a lifetime of joy together. What happens between Ron and me really shouldn't be your concern, especially not today, on your wedding day." The tension in the room escalated. Jerry, who had been standing frozen at the altar, finally came rushing down the aisle, his face a mask of fury and panic, urging Karen not to make a scene to continue with the ceremony. Karen, however, was beyond reason. She pushed him aside angrily, her eyes blazing. Then, in a move that shocked everyone, she grabbed her elaborate bridal bouquet and hurled it across the room, the expensive flowers scattering in a trail of petals as it crashed onto the floor. Ignoring the collective gasps, Karen stormed out of the venue, her ridiculously long train trailing behind her in a swirl of white satin and rage. The heavy oak door of the ballroom slammed shut behind her, leaving a lingering sense of disbelief and chaos in her wake. The guests exchanged bewildered glances, unsure how to react to the unexpected dramatic turn of events. Some attempted awkward smiles trying to diffuse the tension, while others shifted uncomfortably in their seats. The atmosphere, once filled with joyous celebration, now hung heavy with confusion and a palpable sense of scandal. Jerry looked at me, his face contorted with fury, his mouth opening as if to yell. But my mom, who had been watching the entire spectacle with a mixture of shock and steely resolve, firmly told him to keep his mouth shut, reminding him of the audacity he'd shown in putting me through this in the first place. With a smirk, I whispered to Ron that it was probably time for us to leave. He nodded in agreement. As we exited the venue, our heads held high, the room erupted into a whirlwind of reactions: shock, anger, whispered conversations. The weight of betrayal, the years of emotional abuse and gaslighting had finally lifted. The world had seen my pain, my resilience, and my ability to rise above the wreckage of a broken marriage, all while delivering a taste of exquisitely served karma. I didn't care if people thought I'd gone too far. I had never slept with someone behind their back or broken up someone's marriage. All I did was give my stepsister a taste of her own medicine, a consequence for her own malicious actions. Her narcissistic attempt to flaunt her victory had backfired in the most spectacular way imaginable. Update 3. The aftermath and moving on. The reaction online to my story has been overwhelming, and I'm blown away by the support. To those who thought I went too far, I understand. But sometimes, when you've been pushed to your limit, when your pain has been so callously disregarded, a little bit of petty, public justice is the only thing that allows you to finally close a painful chapter. I've heard from my stepdad Harry that Jerry and Karen have, unsurprisingly, officially broken up. She refused to go through with the wedding, no matter how much Jerry pleaded. Harry suspects that seeing Ron that day reawakened some lingering feelings for him, feelings she had perhaps suppressed or denied. I'm not one to revel in others' pain, but I can't deny a certain grim satisfaction in knowing that the consequences of their actions finally caught up with them. Jerry has apparently been leaving me a string of angry voicemails and vitriolic text messages, which I've chosen to block and ignore. My boundary formation is now complete and non-negotiable. Harry, while initially reprimanding me for my actions at the wedding, has, after a long talk with my mom, come to understand my motivations. Mom, bless her, asked me to give him some time and space, which I've agreed to do. In the aftermath of this whole fiasco, I'm choosing to focus on rebuilding my life, on finding happiness within myself. As many of you have recommended, I will definitely be re-engaging with therapy. Navigating the uncertainties of life after such a profound betrayal requires support and introspection. For now, I want to concentrate on my personal growth, rediscovering my passions, and surrounding myself with positive influences only. The healing journey will take time, but for the first time in a long while, I feel a sense of lightness, of possibility. The trauma bond with Jerry is definitively broken, and Karen's power over me is gone. I am free. If you enjoyed this video or found it helpful, go ahead and give it a like. It really helps me out. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any future videos. Thanks a bunch.